Boy, this has dried up way better than I ever expected. I'm really, really happy with the way this dried up. Now you may be wondering what these pliers are on here. Well, what this is, I have this drying under a heating vent, and I noticed, of course, in the past, this side of the wheel got noticeably warmer than this side. I didn't want to have the paint dry asymmetrically, so because we have this bolt in the wheel, I needed to have a way of balancing it both ways. Small detail, but certainly something worth considering. Anyway, we have a snowy day. I'm glad we got this painted before the snow came. Now today, the little details I want to take care of, and I tried to get a lot of clear down in there so it would be, just make it easier. It's just still not a sand, it's not a smooth surface like this is, but I'm going to get the flat black that we used to paint one of Glenn's helmets, try to get in there with a brush, and then of course the areas up here, I need to address that. Up there. Try to get it to match the other wheel, but boy, if you only could see this in real life. I know it doesn't show that well on the video, but boy, in real life it looks great. Yeah, we really made a great decision getting all that that clear on and that silver. Boy, this morning we've got a little baby winter wonderland. Now, even though it snowed out there, again, I'm so happy we got this done. Because now that this is nice indoor work, nice clean work, and of course, most of doing any kind of a job like this painting is dirty work. It's a lot less fun than being inside a nice shop like this. And I do enjoy the time I have here a lot more than out in the garage, that's for sure. But what I want to do right now, I always have a little list of things to do before I do the assembly, and I want to do them in a sequence that makes sense. As an example, I can't put the discs on till I paint in there. I want to pull off the back masking tape, but I don't want to pull off the back masking tape if I look and say, oh, there's a spot I have to touch up. Well, luckily, a couple of things were in our favor. When we painted this, it was in between really two big rainstorms. When it rains, there's almost no dust in the air. So if you can paint when there's no rain, right after it rains, you can see the no buffing on this. Normally, I'd have to get the dust out as I'm running my hand on here. For all purposes, there's no dust. We could buff it out if we saw a bad spot or a touch up, but I want to be sure from this point on, if I do have to touch up, there's no point pulling off all this back masking tape. But you know what? It is our lucky day. We don't have that many lucky days, to be honest. And as I take this off, I'm just looking at it. If there's any little spots I want to touch up, now is the time to do them, because once I bolt the discs back on and Loctite everything up, but I've said it a million times, nothing. It's the two things. You have a beat up rusty bike. If you paint it, changes the whole bike. Paint the wheels, it brings it up to the next level. And when it's clean and it's not all dripping with rust and grease, even an older bike, an inexpensive bike, can be very nice. And to be honest, a brand new bike that's not maintained, well, all in the eye of the beholder. And one of the things I wanted to pay a real strict attention to is not having any paint in the areas here that I've backmasked off around where the discs seat, just so that they seat back onto perfectly flat surface, and I'm being real careful about getting off my backmasking tape here. Oh, nice. There's something very rewarding about having a job that goes well. Not all our jobs go well, by the way. This is not like the TV shows where they, I don't know, they never seem to have these problems, but anyway, once this is done, and I do it as a matter of habit, I get the back masking off of this, pull this rod out, and then I run it on a wire wheel. I want to clean it up because I want to paint these areas. I don't want to have tape and gobbledygook all over the place. And actually then I'll clean this whole wheel balancer up with some simple green, because you can see what happens. There's the crap from actually sanding this winds up on this. And this actually, again, I'll thank Pokey. This actually is a very usable tool, and I can't imagine how you would paint a wheel and get it this convenient without a wheel balancer. Now, having gotten all that masking tape off, this is the next step, and I just had this. This was a handy thing to have. Oh boy, perfect. It's a bolt that's exactly the size diameter as the Curvy Girl, and a washer just to keep it, and some tape to center the bolt. So I'll save this for, obviously this is not the last wheel we're ever going to do. In fact, one of the candidates that I have for a future project is going to be our 650, the all black 650, and I've been trying to decide. I had mixed enough paint to do at least one more set of wheels, but well, this is the part of the job that I really look forward to, the final little everything on this. Now, the reason for painting this flat black is I don't want to see it shiny. I want it to kind of disappear. So as I'm looking at it now at this angle, the clear that's on there has made it shiny. Oh, I don't really want it shiny. So now I had thought right away I was going to do, and inside these spokes I was going to do with barbecue paint. And barbecue paint is like, you can never really clean it. It's like when you have that flat black on the hood of a Camaro and you never really get it clean, then it turns white and everything. But this is going to be a part of it. I'm going to want to steam clean these wheels from time to time, and of course we ride the bike in all kind of weather, so it's really starting to come together now. Now another little detail, because we did this with Gorilla Tape, I want to be real careful about getting this to come back with a nice, see, I want to cut the edge of the paint. I don't want to pull this up, because what will happen, I risk pulling up some of the paint, where if I cut it as I go with the razor, and by the way, that is the right way to do this, because this paint is only a few days old, still vulnerable. Paint really doesn't harden up. Well, in my experience, it's all about the temperature, but in this cold garage that it dried in, and the cellar here is about, I don't know, in the high 60s. And the two things I want to have this nice and neat. Then I want to get in here. These are sealed bearings, so. And that kept everything from getting in there. All while we were sanding, it actually did it was sealed pretty well. But I don't want to have even a little bit of paint on there. I want to have that nice sharp edge. Even though there's a little cup that goes over that when you assemble this. Now the other thing, while I have the wheel in this position, is to get each one of these, even the slightest little bit of paint on it. And sometimes it's right around the edge. Again, this is entering the area of being pretty fanatical about it, but again, one of the things I really like about this particular bike, the brakes are really good. Well, if I could, I always say, if I could only get that FZR to have this set of brakes, I'd be really happy. But now again, this is a small thing, but it's something. I enjoy working with, in a nice clean environment when possible, with nice clean tools. The reason is, most of the work that I do is really sloppy, dirty, dusty, whatever. But when I can, at the end of a job, I can return the tools. You see there's paint on them and everything. Just clean them up for the next job. And again, it only takes a minute to clean things up, and then I feel like I'm just working more productively. And again, because most of the stuff that we do here is kind of dirty work, when we can make it nice and neat, it's a lot more enjoyable. And again, we have really gotten some good use out of this stand. I really want to keep it that way too. Just makes the work that we have to do just that much easier. A little simple green, a little hot water, and a nice flog brush. Now also, once it's dried up, I would always take each one of these wheels, even though it's a little sealed bearing, I think, in there. Just keeps it from corroding while it's out in that garage. And it is a great tool to add to your shop, and I just can't imagine painting a wheel without it, even though I have. And it's a lot more fun. And actually you use it for balancing your wheel. So it's what the tool was actually made for. But we're ready. We can install a wheel now. Now we're ready to hopefully install a Curvy Girl valve next, and then paint those black areas of the wheel. The first step is with some really nice clean Q-tips, and make sure this area, because this is where it seals with that little rubber. It's not exactly an O-ring, it's like a T-ring. You need to clean that up as much as possible, and you can see what comes out of there. So if you were just to bolt it in, yeah, that'd be fine, and probably it wouldn't leak, but if it does, it ruins your whole day. It really can ruin your whole day. So once that hole is clean, now we know that the Curvy Girl is a very precision fit in there. And I want it, I got to look at the wheel, I want it this way. I want to be on the side of the bike that the throttle is on, that it's pointing out, because the bike would normally be leaning that way just a little bit. And with the 90-degree valve, it's a lot easier to check the air, and I check the air every time I ride the bike, of course. I'm very fussy about it. I like to run the tires a little softer than most people do. Just me, I guess. I guess my behind is getting sore after all these years, but I find out the bumpy roads where we ride, and they are quite bumpy, it responds well to a little bit less air pressure rather than a little bit more where you're constantly jumping off the ground. These are all the Curvy Girl valve stems, and you can see that this part here is a really, I try to get it on a macro lens, a really precision fit. So what I always try to do is, before I try to install it, put one drop of simple green on it, because it is going to be a press fit. And another tip that I've put on all the videos, if you buy these Curvy Girls, be sure you get the right one. They come in 2 different sizes, and and I've ordered probably 8-10 sets of them already in my time of doing wheels for people and stuff. You need to make this nut just tight enough that this doesn't move you, but you don't want to put a socket on here and put 80 pounds of tension on it. Are these all the Curvy Girl valves? And once that's installed, then we can move on to what I think is going to be one of the final touches of getting all that area in there that we see. And you can see how rough it is. Even though I put clear on it, try to smooth it out, I really do want to get a nice coat of flat black. And then the final thing today, the final thing is in those spoke areas. Because you can see that, you see this, how the silver shows the casting flaws, all the little sand casting flaws. Well, the black isn't gonna make them disappear. It'll just make them less obvious, because it hopefully will dry as flat black. I wouldn't want to do that shiny black. So I think we're really closing in on, well, and be able to use the time we have in this session pretty effectively. Now I know this paint is pretty durable. This is what Glenn painted a helmet with. I can't see the label, it doesn't matter. But it is flat black, and it is 2-part. So you would hope, at least I hope, it's going to be dry flat and be relatively durable too at the same time. So I'm going to mix this up, get some of Karen's old art brushes, and get busy. Now what I found out in doing the back wheel is the things that you think are going to go in 5 minutes or 10 minutes sometimes take a little bit longer. This is one of them, because I can see I have a very long brush, and I'm only able to get in a certain, and then I have to flip the wheel, But I can see already that it'll be doable. It's just going to be, and I got to be careful not to get any extra on the wheel if I don't have to. And I know from the spokes took a long time to get that inside area. It wasn't as simple as I thought it was. Now, if, as an example, is what I have, a little cup of urethane thinner is the best I found. Not acetone, not lacquer thinner. This, and I'll rub it with my hand so there's no extra on it. If I get a spot I want to get off. And don't get it wet, just get it and get it off. Because getting the edges on this, I can see, and I'm going to have to use a flashlight to get in there, of course. But I think in the end, it's really going to pay to do this. In fact, I like it already. How could I not like it? It's my idea. Come on. Come on, man. Oh, here, I already got as I'm speaking. A little area. Takes it right off. And so this is just going to be another part of our labor of love. But I think it's something that we're going to see. And as Karen and I have worked on this elaborate project of renovating our living room, which has now gone into about the second or third month, and includes things like making curtains and new furniture, and the biggest thing was selling off all our old antiques. Oh my God, was that labor intensive. Pokey helped us a little bit. Some of our friends helped us, and we finally got everything sold. And Karen is just about as happy as someone the day they go down to the bike dealership and order up that new whatever your favorite bike is. Again, I think this is just one of the little details. And my idea of customizing or working on motorcycles is that the ultimate goal is, my ultimate goal anyway, is, got another little spot, is to have it look like the factory just might have built a few of these, but I never saw one before, and good luck, because you're not going to find another one. That's kind of like you have to set a goal of what you want, or do you want it to look like a chopper or like a tree stump or whatever. Everybody's got something they like, that's for sure. I know what I like. Hard to convince me that the time spent doing this in the winter when it's snowing out and it's really crappy. Now, it's only a matter of time before, a couple more years maybe, my grandson will have gotten to the point where he doesn't use the cellar as a playpen and a drone flying place and whatever. And then I'll be able to set up the cellar like it was before he was born into a real renovation studio. And do all my work in complete comfort. But in the meantime, we're just going to have to tough it out. Now I got to flip it and do the other side. So I wanted to make a decision. What looks better? Or am I going to be happy with that? I definitely think this looks a little better. You know, another thing that's always something I think about. I watch the custom car shows like Bitchin' Rides or whatever. Doesn't matter which one. And I always think in the beginning of it, I see them tear a car apart and it's a big mess and everything. I think, oh, they're never going to get this back together. It's never going to be the way they want it. And in the end, they always seem to get it. Well, I hope we get it this time too. And this I found to be definitely one of the more labor-intensive parts of the job. I can't think of any way you could just do this any quicker, but try to get a nice line on everything. And of course, if we go overboard, just the Q-tips. Try to blend in a nice line. And as I said to my friends that watch pretty much the adventure of what we do here in the shop, here's another bad spot. What I always say is, you know, we have a lot of stuff going on in this house, and with that living room is turning into be a real labor-intensive thing. But Karen is so happy the way it's coming out. It's worth it. And we waited a long time. We had the furniture for 25 years. And it broke our heart to get rid of some of it, because some of it came from England, some from Italy. It was real antiques Karen had accumulated over the years. And at the end of this video, I'll show you the progress on it. We're in the middle of doing the carpentry for some of the cornices. Anyway, that's just going to be a labor-intensive thing. It's going to be another hour on that. Well, you can see how many Q-tips we used, how many times we had to wipe this up. But anyway, I think the bottom line here is that really came out nice. And again, that's this idea of the black spokes. I know that's in the eye of the beholder. I think that's really going to be when we get done with this. And of course, we have to get it mounted on a bike. But the problem is we have other things to do here, and it just coordinated very well because this pretty much has to dry overnight. I wouldn't want to try to mount the tire and discs and whatever and stick by hand in that wet paint. That paint does take a few hours to dry, and I'm really excited about that wheel. Oh, and again, it's just basically for my closest friends that follow along with Karen's adventures, Wendy's adventures. There's a bunch of plywood we bought. We're going to make cornices for our living room curtains, and we're going to make the curtains, and we're going to make the cornices. I'll make a separate video of the woodwork and the stuff that goes into that. We need to make up a prototype. We need to buy material. It's a whole animal unto itself. But while that paint is drying, I can get started on some of this project. And I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I hope you enjoyed the adventure. I guess that's the right word. Anyway, we'll pick this up once that paint dries. Again, thanks for watching, and I don't know how to say it. I'm pretty passionate about this stuff. I hope you are too. And actually, before the day ended, I got to make up one, like a little prototype. This is not the final product, of course. I just wanted to see how that was going to look for Karen's benefit with the new sofa. All the new stuff we have around here. Karen's artwork. I know she's very humble about it, but she really does. This room is more like an art studio than a room. And a final step, and we'll have that in the next couple of days, will be the curtains. Anyway, again, thanks for watching.